From Lalate News headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Mornings Lalate.
It's a big morning of Mornings Lalate with incredible great news about your fourth stimulus check update of 2021. It's live and direct from Santa Monica, California this morning. In this recording, we go over the incredible great news as a vote will be happening this coming week on your recon. We will be done for purposes of the House of Representatives. Here we go. The deal has been done, and that vote is now set for next week. We will be out of the House of Representatives and finished by a week from now. Then, this is as news as the Congressional Budget Office report will not be done, but the great news is that we will be done for purpose of the House. Programs that will pay you about $15,000 across all these incredible clusters of checks. The biggest payout ever in the history of this channel, and will dwarf that of third stimulus, which paid viewers on average about $45,000. I'm going to show you how to get these great sums of money in this recon later in this video. Stay with me to the very end. Student loan debt forgiveness, more debt can be forgiven across the board. And then the big exciting details of this stimulus coming up next year as your COLA benefits are going up 5.9% in January. Those details and more as we go into a big, bold, beautiful morning's broadcast. The exciting news is that the recon will be done on the House. Here we go. We are on that edge of that finish line. I'm excited you're here. We got a big, bold, beautiful new live broadcast of breaking news on this morning's show today. I'm excited you're here. The latest details and also my commentary about inflation and what's going on thereafter. Those details and more as the toast is toasting, the butter is buttering, the coffee is brewing, and the Mornings Lalate starts right now. Hey, good morning, everybody. I hope you're having a beautiful day. And it's exciting because now we got that vote set. The vote in that recon, and it's coming in just a few days from now, next week. That is without the CBO report likely to be done. I have the latest details of the incredible deal reached among the moderate Democrats and Nancy Pelosi. It's deliciousness. Then the programs, they'll pay you on average about $15,000 across all these incredible clusters of checks. You're going to get huge sums of money in this recon. Stay with me. I'll explain to you how later in this video. Student loan debt forgiveness, more debt could be forgiven across the board. And then the fifth stimulus coming right behind that. You need it because of that inflation numbers coming out this week, not particularly good. I have all the analysis. I have all the details as we go into a supersized morning's broadcast with an enormous amount of breaking news. And my friends, this is Lalate, America's most talked about financial news channel in America. One channel covers stocks, one channel covers the economy, but this is the biggest in the nation on this subject matter. 16 shows per day, hundreds of hours of programming per week, and 140 million viewers in a year and a half. So subscribe. 400,000 subscribers and a YouTube record. Like this video and consider becoming a member. We got a lot in this video. Let me give you a roadmap of what's going to be going on. First, we're going to go over broadly all these incredible programs in this recon and the big money that you can get for this incredible recon. Then we're going to come back and go over the voting next week, the deal on the voting and the CBO report. Then get the pen and paper ready because we're going to go over each of these programs one at a time to show you the big money you can get. We'll be turning to student loan debt forgiveness and fifth stimulus as well. And then my commentary at the end to wrap it all together in talking about those inflationary numbers. Here we go. When third stimulus first was debuted in framework on this channel in spring of this year, I told viewers I can get at you about $15,000 from this third stimulus. When it became law, I said I'm going to get you about $15,000 across all these incredible clusters of checks. When third stimulus rolled out, the average view of this channel got $45,000 from third stimulus. The great news is when you look at fourth stimulus, all the programs that paid the viewers of this channel big money under third stimulus are coming back. So the average view of this channel will get on average about $15,000 from this fourth recon. And it is incredible with lots of clusters. We're going to go over three of them, and we're going to go over the three add-ons, and we're going to start right now. If I say front-end check, it means a check that comes to your hand. Back-end check, it means it's a check after you do something. Here we go. Everything put in this recon in the subcommittee no less than 3 weeks ago is surviving the negotiations, and will be in the passed House bill next week in cluster number 1. Hazard pay, back end, $4,000 of elder care, front end, $4,000 of care for young children, front end. Then the Pell's grant, $550 checks for my college students, front end. The money to repair your home if you're in a low-income community, front end checks. Then they got the child tax credit, CTC, for 1 more year, $3,600 approximately, front end. And finally, a $12,500 back end check for the purchase of a new electric vehicle, U.S. auto manufacturer, and 15% for a new electric bike. There we go. The first add-on got in there, and it is a huge game winner. It is one of the most talked about provisions of this recon among viewers. It is that free front end money for the purchase price of your first home. Maxine Waters got it in there. She went $25,000 check. She didn't get it, but this is in there, a little bit less. It is during the escrow period when you go to when you go to buy the home. There'll be a check in your name for the purchase price of your first home. Wow! Stay with me later in this video. I show you how to get all these incredible sums of money. Let's go to the second cluster. Here we go. Home repairs and paid leave. They got those in there, and they're staying in there. Paid leave, front end check. The household tax credit, back end check. Pre-kindergarten in there, front end check. And the money to weatherize your home, front end check. Definitely need to weatherize your home. I mean, we're going into the holiday season. You never know when there's a lobster at your gate. And you look closer, and it's Mitch in a lobster suit. Yeah, that's why you weatherize ahead of time. Let's go to the second add-on of checks, and that second add-on are benefits that are huge, and it comes from Bob Casey, that wonderful senator from Pennsylvania. He got in there. $250 billion of benefits he wanted. He got a little bit less, and it is for the free home health care for my seniors and people on disabilities. Wow. Yes, free home health care. I got more of the details coming up later in this video. But now let's turn to the next provision across the board, and it is the big money for my seniors and also the free internet. Here we go. Well, when we look at third cluster, these are the items that we thought would survive, and they did. Let's go over the details of those checks in the third cluster and see where they are today. They got in there, free school meals for all, covered benefit, and then a front-end check. Cheaper prescription medication, benefit. Immigration reform, benefit. Farmers don't know, free internet, don't know the status of that. Clean energy, out. And then the workers, independent contractors, don't know the status of that. And then the Medicare expansion. Let's go over the details of that right now. So, 3 provisions at issue. First, lowering the eligibility age of Medicare. That's going to be taken care of on the Senate side, not going to be done on the House side. Dental and vision, also on the Senate side. They got in their hearing, it'll be passed on the House side, and they got in their Medicare gap. I'll explain that later in this video. Which brings us to our third add-on, which is that MSC IRS stimulus check. Multiple or monthly IRS stimulus check. There's 2 ways they can put it in there, and it's always been the Senate play. It's always been the senators leading the drive to do it for you. We have the 6 senators who have told thousands of viewers over the last few months they want to insert it on the Senate side. At least 1 check, if not more. We have the 2 S's, the 2 C's, and the 2 W's. Split your week up and call the 2 C's on one day and the 2 W's on another day. It is Coons, Casey, Warren, Wyden, Sanders, and Schumer. What's at issue is they have 2 opportunities to do this. First, subcommittee. When the body of legislation is passed in the House next week and comes over to the Senate, they are likely to put it in a subcommittee because they got a lot of work to do, a lot of work of a lot of checks they want to add in there. $15,000 across all these clusters. Well, get ready till the senators come in because they could be adding more money as well. And they could be adding these MSCs in there as well. Then the Vote-A-Rama, a 2-day event at the very end of the whole process. On the Senate side, they can add it there as well. The Vote-A-Rama is critical because it's game-changing historically. Under third stimulus, Chuck Schumer and Liz Warren both saw an issue. The issue was the president was about to forgive some student loan debt. But the forgiveness of student loan debt is a taxable event. Students were going to have to pay $10,000 to IRS overnight that they did not have. So Liz and Chuck got a provision in there that said the forgiveness of student loan debt is tax-free. And that is why it's important for you to advocate. Pick up the phone and advocate. There were 2 viewers who sent me messages yesterday and said, you don't mention MSC on camera. I mention it on camera every single day, but then I realized what they were talking about. During the scope of the videos, I used to give you the comment that said, Donnie picked up the phone and called this person and heard. And Jared picked up the phone and called this person and heard. Then I started to realize, wait a second, these comments are exchanges between the viewers and the senators weeks ago, days ago, even months ago. And I started to see some people that were sort of sitting back and just wanting to hear the update of the check is coming to me. I'm not going to pick up the phone and advocate. What you're going to see in the second half of this video is that in just a matter of a few days, provisions have been in the recon and been taken out and been put back in. There's a lot of negotiations going on. So you can't sit back and say, oh, I heard something really good from Liz Warren's office in the month of May about an IRS stimulus check. I'm not going to pick up the phone because I'm happy I heard that back in May. No. The negotiations are changing by the hour on the hour. So I think that's why the person was saying, why haven't you shown those graphics? Because I don't want you to be dependent upon something you heard a few months ago. I want you to advocate. And that is what the senators want you to do as well. They want you to advocate. The #1 senator in this equation, his chief of staff, has the big message, which is to pick up the phone and advocate across the board. Let's read that message on air. They have in total between congressional and senators' offices received more contacts from the LA Purple Power than the number of signatures in the American petition. Everyone's amazed by the outpouring of touching stories. Now they have a better understanding of what people are going through during this pandemic. They have heartbreaking stories. And they have the voice of the people across the nation in you, LA, as you have become too loud to be ignored. Let's listen to this last sentence. Please continue your continued advocacy as a professional voice of the people you have become, and continue until this becomes law. Absolutely. That's what's at issue, is that we're coming out of the House, we're going to the Senate. It's now their opportunity to make changes to the recon. And the situation changes by the hour. They have a lot of their provisions out. They need to add them back in, and that is why you need to advocate. Separate your week. This day you're going to call the 2 C's. That day you're going to call the 2 W's. That day you're going to call the 2 S's. Sanders, Schumer, Warren, Wyden, Casey, Coons. And with that, the exciting details coming up in the second half of this video is that the voting is now set. We're going to have the House pass the recon next week, says Nancy Pelosi, even if the Congressional Budget Office report is not done. The deal revisited in this video and now explained further by Nancy Pelosi, it's deliciousness. The programs that will be in this recon will pay you an enormous sum of money, a huge sum of money. You're going to get that pen and paper ready during the commercial break, because after the commercial break, I'm going to be coming back and going over all these incredible programs. And one program that is on the battleground to being removed just today. You see, the situation is very fluid always across the board. Student loan debt forgiveness, more debt could be forgiven, and then fifth stimulus. Meantime, fifth stimulus is impacted by inflation. I'll have my commentary later in this video about what's going on with inflation. But here's a little bit about the community page. I'll be back with you in 60 seconds as the big morning's broadcast continues and the toast keeps on toasting. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LA Daily for the excitement of the new LA live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LA at 9 a.m. Home LA returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LA at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LA. And the excitement continues right now, direct and live from Santa Monica, California, as a House deal is done and we will have the vote in the next few days. This coming week, the vote will be finished. The House will pass your incredible recon. That recon will be passed even if the Congressional Budget Office report is not released. I'll explain the details and the nuance and the latest comments from Nancy Pelosi in the second half. The programs will pay you about $15,000 across all these incredible programs. I'll explain the details coming up in a second. And then we'll turn to student loan debt forgiveness. More debt could be forgiven. And then the exciting details of fifth stimulus, which is needed across the board because of those inflation numbers. I'll have my commentary about those as well as we go into a big, bold, beautiful morning's broadcast. And the continuation starts right now. And this is Lalate, America's most talked about financial news channel in America. Coming up next is Morning's Crypto live on air at 10 a.m. And then we got a big new live show at 11 a.m. noontime. I hope to see you then. And with that, let's go right into the dramatics that's unfolding coming up next week. And here we go across the board. The big dramatics is that the House will vote and pass your incredible recon next week. The passage of the recon was solidified in comments by Nancy Pelosi just overnight. What's going on? There was a deal done a week ago about the recon where the moderate Democrats agreed to the following statement by vote and by writing. They will vote in favor of the recon upon receipt of the Congressional Budget Office report no later than the week of November 15th. Well, over the last 7 days, I said I was a little worried about that language because guess what? The Congressional Budget Office report is not going to be available by next week. Well, Nancy Pelosi, she got the question. She was asked what happens if the CBO report is not available next week. Are you still going to call the vote? She says yes. Because if you read the sentence, the end of the sentence says, but under no other regards will you ever delay the vote past November 15th. This is the vote that was solidified and written by Gothenheimer, Murphy, Schrader, and Case, the moderate Democrats who are trying to stall the recon. We commit to voting in favor of the recon as expeditiously as we receive the Congressional Budget Office report, but in no later than the week of November 15th. There was the key words. So Nancy Pelosi did what she was supposed to do when asked about the question during the climate summit in Scotland. She says, yes, we will be voting on it the week of November 15th as we agreed to. Wow, that is great because that is what the actual wording said. This caused an issue earlier this week when I said, I don't think that CBO report is going to be done by the week of November 15th. No longer a concern for us. It will not be done. And the Congressional Budget Office, which is a nonpartisan organization, said the statement yesterday, said that we, over the last few months, have provided technical assistance to committees developing their proposals for this bill. But these provisions are complicated and some of them overlap. So we will give an estimate as soon as possible, meaning it's not going to be ready next week. We anticipate some of the individual tracks to be released. Other provisions take longer. We'll tell you in advance notice. Yesterday, they released some of the numbers, and those were for science, space, technology, small businesses, and veterans. Guess what? It was less than about $20 million. Not billion, million. So it was not many numbers they ran for yesterday. So the great news is that even though the CBO report is not done, the vote will be happening next week. Get ready for next Thursday. Could be exciting, if not on Monday. We're going to track it and see what happens starting this coming Monday. Expect all the analysis of this over the weekend. Stay with me all weekend long, but let's turn to the programs in and programs out. And one program that could be coming out for the first time you're hearing on this channel starting right now. So the first program that got added in last week was paid leave, and it's a fortune of money to you. Got that pen and paper ready? Here come the notes. We're going to start with paid leave. What is paid leave? You have to stay home from work because of death, illness, or birth of a child in the household. Not COVID related, just in general for you or anyone else in that household. So how much does it pay? It pays a lot. Under third stimulus, they were proposing to pay $1,700 a week if you make $70,000 or more per year. $35,000 annual salary, that might be you. That would be about $800 a week. And then $15,000 annual salary, $400 a week. So how many weeks? Up to 4 weeks per year. Whoa, that's a lot of money. So 4 times $1,700, that's about $5,000, $6,000 a year. On the low end, it's about $1,000 to $2,000 a year. It's a lot. But the best part of the news, it's for everyone. everyone that works in the United States. It would apply to all income levels and all worker classifications, meaning W-2 or 1099. Example, you're an Uber driver and your wife is giving birth and you only make $20,000 per year. You're going to get that check. Then, if you work at a department store, W-2, but you make $150,000 single person each year, you're going to get that check. There you go. Huge money. The second add-on got in there this week, but the breaking news this morning is that progressives are saying they will be taking it out on the Senate side. What is the provision? It's a great provision that helps millions of Americans. It's lifting the SALT cap. When you go to prepare your state tax return, you pay state taxes. Then when you go over to federal tax return each year, you can deduct as a deduction how much you paid in state taxes. So let's say you paid $15,000 in state taxes. You go over the federal tax return. Can you deduct $15,000? No. Under the Trump 2017 tax code, they put a cap on how much you can deduct on state and local taxes at $10,000. Big trouble for states like New York and New Jersey that have big tax burdens. Gothenheimer and the moderate Democrats got a wonderful provision in there to raise the cap to $72,500 you can deduct on your federal tax return per year of state and local taxes. It's going to be in the House bill. It is in the House bill, and it will be passed as part of the House bill by the end of next week. But breaking news today is the progressives say that on the Senate side, they're vowing to take it out. See, this is where things don't look good. It looks messy. Why? SALT doesn't hurt anyone, and this is not a battle the progressives should be playing. This shows pettiness, and it shows not focusing. It's not a provision that hurts anyone. All that they could possibly say is it doesn't fund the government with enough taxes. It is not a provision that hurts people and helps a lot of people in those big states that have big tax burdens. So I'm not happy that the progressives are coming out talking against this provision. This is where these battles should not lie. All right, let's go to the one of the other provisions that got into this recon, which is great. And that is $40 billion of job training, totally free. Now you can learn how to make me some bacon. Here comes the Medicaid gap fix. This is a big one. This is a great one. When Obamacare rolled out, there were 12 Republican governor states that offered it but refused to pay it. A problem for the Democrat states because they were picking up the Republican states' tabs. And now Raphael Warnock, the senator from Georgia, and Jim Clyburn for the Carolinas came up with a wonderful workaround plan. For those 12 holdout Republican states will now have to offer years of subsidized private insurance to you, very, very cheap if you're on low income in those states. Wow. They got immigration reform in there. That is no check for an immigrant. There's no check for an immigrant. They got big money for housing assistance, $150 billion for housing, which is rent, utilities, mortgage assistance, weatherize your home, home repairs, and also first-time home purchases. Yeah, that's a lot. Let's back up. When third stimulus rolled out, I looked at it, and it confirmed my exclusive reporting on it before it was law, that I said, there's a lot of money in here for rent, utilities, and mortgage assistance. I could get you on average about $15,000. The average view of this channel has gotten over about $45,000 from those provisions under third stimulus. They're still paying. You need to get that money right today. They're still paying. The great news is that while you can still get second or third rounds of that money under third stimulus, it's coming back under fourth stimulus, which means the $40,000 you got under third stimulus, you can get again under fourth stimulus. That's how it's very easy to say the fourth stimulus pays you at least $15,000. Well, then there's other provisions in there as well. And I said, if you have very big, complex, elaborate questions, send me on private message on social media, and I'll answer them on air. So, when talking about the first-time home purchases, one of the most popular provisions of this recon, people have been asking first, home, and what income. So first, it's presumed to be your first, but we're not sure until we see the language. If you were married before, now you're single, is it your first or just first in general? Home, is it single-family home? Yes. But what type of home? We don't think there will be a limiter on this one. We have to watch that. That was for Ryan's question. And then for income levels, we believe it's for all income levels, but we have to look at that as well. The home repairs, a low-income community, how would it likely work? Probably as a grant. You apply, you get the grant, and certain money can be used for certain items across that home, not just one, but several. And then the weatherizing a home. For those communities where weatherizing is an issue, and that reportedly is not based upon the income level of the community. Great questions. They got $150 billion in there for older people and people, seniors, and people on disabilities. They got it in there. $550 checks, front-end checks, for the Pell Grant to my college students. What's important to remember is that nothing in this recon is retroactive. And so I have people saying, I was on Pell's Grant 2 years ago. Do I get this? No. If you're on Pell's Grant now, good. If you're on Pell's Grant early this year, I don't know. We don't know what part of 2021 this will cover, but it's for people who are on Pell's Grant when it becomes law, $550 checks. Then we have $12,500 checks for electric vehicles made in union shops as a back-end check, a tax credit. Huge. So that's Chrysler, GM, and Ford, and their subsidiaries. And that's for an electric, not hybrid, electric, purely electric. People have asked me, can you talk about the cars a little bit? Well, one of the cheapest of the cars is the Chevy Volt. It's about $30,000. So this would give you about up to $12,500 towards the Chevy Volt. It's great. $65 front-end checks for people who are not in school for food. We think this goes all the way through high school and includes it. Which brings us to the biggest success of this recon, the cheaper medication. This is the big win the president got. Let's back up. 20 years when Medicare rolled out, it said that under charter agreement, they cannot negotiate prices of medication. So Big Pharma wanted to charge big prices. I asked viewers on Saturdays mornings, LA last weekend, on air live, how much you paying for insulin? Mark's wife, $900 a dose. Other viewers, $500 or $700. Now it'll be $35. What happened? Over 20 years, Big Pharma blocked negotiations that would change this law because they wanted to stick it to you with big prices. And with 15 lobbyists every year for 20 years, they succeeded until last Wednesday. Not this Wednesday, but the Wednesday before that. The president did the best thing he does, which is personally negotiate. And he picked up the phone and called Kristen Sinema, the senator from Arizona, and said, Kristen, you need to come on board with this. And this has been delayed too much. I need you to come on board. And she did. And she blessed the entire recon. What's important to understand is that the White House really dropped the ball in its press department. Focusing on climate is the message that day. No, you focus on this. This is an instant savings to the American people's wallet the next day it becomes law. If this becomes law in 2 weeks from now, you would instantly see this the next day. You're not going to see climate impact your wallet. You're going to see this. And this story should have ran. How is it going to work? Immediately when it becomes law, 20-plus medications will be deeply discounted because of good faith negotiations between Big Pharma and Medicare. The number of medications will ramp up to 30 by 2028, and they cannot increase more than the inflation rate each year. These are the most expensive medications, like diabetes, cancer, and arthritis, Medicare Part B and Medicare Part D. Chuck Schumer says, get ready for next year because we're going to do more of this. We're going to take a bigger bite out of the apple. Big praise is coming from Ron Wyden, Sinema, Peter saying it's really good for seniors, Skikowski, and others. Next week, the Senate parliamentarian is going to rule on the fate of two provisions of the recon which may come out, and they are paid leave and also immigration reform. Who is the Senate parliamentarian? It's a government official, lifetime official, who determines under the Senate rules what provisions can go by reconciliation and which cannot. She has previously ruled that immigration reform cannot, so I think she's going to again rule against it. When we look to paid leave, it's a 50-50 on that one, and we're going to determine the fate of that provision as well. When you look at the Senate side, the senators say, I got a lot of work to do, and that is why this is great, because at the moment we're looking at about $15,000 across all these incredible clusters that pay you under this recon being passed in the House. When we head over to the Senate, the senators say there's major gaps in this recon. We got to fill up this major gap with a lot of checks, and that means more checks to you, and that means this number would go even higher. What are they going to do? What are they saying? Let's go over their comments right now. Sanders says it's the best bill since the 1960s, but there's major gaps. When asked, what are you adding? He says dental, vision, lowering the eligibility age of Medicare, Ron Wyden says deal's not done till Senate acts, and there is a significant amount of work still to be done. Coons, Schumer, stable now, and also Murphy. All Senator says, get ready for the Senate side because they're going to make a lot of changes. Get that pen and paper ready because we're going to go over some more of those checks that pay you about $15,000 across this recon starting right now. First, universal pre-kindergarten, 1 year, totally free front-end checks for 3 and 4-year-olds. Then, the earned income tax credit, back end, 1 more year. The child tax credit, front end, $3,600 or $3,000 based upon the age of the child. I show the income qualification on this one, $60,000. Home health care, totally free for seniors and people on disabilities, likely just a covered benefit, not a check. But the hearing aid may be an actual check that you then use in cash to go get it. Then we go to the housing aid. We cover that, $150 billion for repair and rent and similar. The $550 check for my college students, the Pell Grant, the $65 per month per check for the children not in school, which brings us to the question, okay, so what's going to be added on the House, on the Senate side? Bernie says get ready for lowering the eligibility age of Medicare, the dental and the vision, and of course also get ready for those potential MSCs. Bernie says, we're the wealthiest country in the nation. People have no teeth in their mouth they cannot see. We need serious negotiations on that. So let's go over the calculations of those provisions starting right now. Bernie wanted to first drop the Medicare eligibility age from 65 to 55. Bob Casey wants it 60. So you can see that battle unravel. Then the dental last in this recon with a check, $850. Let's see if that check goes back in. But Bernie wanted more than a check. He wanted a covered benefit for 10 years, then a covered benefit for 5 years. Vision. He wants an eye exam and he wants a new pair of frames every year. Frames, $100. Eye exam, $50 at Costco. Done. $150 for people on Medicare. Simple. Send it out. It's very, very cheap. One person in Morning's Countdown today said, my frames cost $450. Is that the Fendi Medicare? Sorry, that's the Chanel Medicare plan. We don't cover that on the show. $450 frames. Is that the frames of $450? Yeah, that's the Champs-Elysees Paris version of the channel. I don't cover that here. Yeah, Bernie is not going to get you $450 frames. I don't know where you're getting your frames from, but that's not that owl with that commercial on TV. He ain't wearing those $450 frames. Yeah, that's the Joe Manchin Maserati channel. So, child tax credit, $60,000 or less is what I show on that one. And then I show more on the housing. I show 175, and I show the in-home healthcare more than that, about almost $200 billion. We're going to come back to this in a second with my commentary about inflation and rent and utilities. But first, here's student loan debt forgiveness. President could do this by executive order because he's offered it. He's offered $10,000 of student loan debt forgiveness. Democrats should take it. Holiday season, take it. People's debts would be forgiven, would be huge. The president's already forgiven student loan debts for people who are disabled. People who went into the nonprofit sector 10 years after graduation and went into the public sector 10 years after graduation. Democrats should take this final $10,000 offer. Then COLA raise. Have you gotten that letter? If you haven't, don't worry. Your benefits are going up next year 5.9% on January 1st. All benefits. But fifth stimulus is needed because fifth stimulus sees that there's a pervasive problem predating the pandemic. And that was that your benefits were not going up year after year before the pandemic. The pandemic hit, you're still not going up. And now the pandemic has sort of settled down, inflation's going up. You need fifth stimulus. First, they're going to raise your benefits up. Then they'll apply a new benchmark. And that new benchmark is going to be inflation. They're going to remove the asset cap, and remove the income cap, and remove the marriage penalty. Mark sent me a great question overnight, which is actually something I used to cover about a month ago, but I haven't said it lately, which is every time you go up on benefits, you never step down. So the first lift would be this one, 5.9%. Then when fifth stimulus becomes law, maybe they give you 3 or 4%. That will be on top of that. Then next December 2022 would be the first time they would apply the benchmark of inflation. That's going to be maybe 3%. On top of that, if inflation is 3% the year after that, you go up another 3%. You never stop across the board. Which is a perfect segue for me to go into my commentary this morning's broadcast. And it concerns both rent and it also concerns inflation. Starting with the rent, I saw some people in some of the comments yesterday, and I actually saw the same sort of comments almost a year ago this month, which is They need to get the forced stimulus recon done right now because people are being evicted. They need to get it done because people cannot pay their utility bills. They need to get it done, the recon, because people are being evicted because they can't pay their mortgage. Hold up. Hold up a second. This is where some tough love is coming on in. Money for rent, money for utilities, and money for mortgage assistance has been available and covered on this channel since October of 2020 under second stimulus and is very much available under third stimulus. You should be in no way looking into the future for fourth stimulus monthly IRS stimulus checks to pay your rent when there's money available to pay for the rent right now. This is what we talk about cashing checks, not tracking checks. You shouldn't be looking to the full future to cash checks for bills that you can get paid for right now. I don't know. I certainly knew in 2020 what it was. But in 2021, now when I see those comments, my eyes sort of pop up because I'm like, wait a second. I made a gazillion videos about how you can get rent and utilities and mortgage assistance paid right now under third stimulus and also the nonprofits everywhere. And if someone is looking to the future and not using the resources of the money right now, it causes me concern. So tough love moment. You need to get the money right now because the money is available right now. If someone says, I'm about to be evicted because I can't pay the rent, what have you been doing if you're a viewer of this channel over the last, and I'm being tough on you right now. What have you been doing over the last few months when I have had this graphic on this channel for months of the money available for rent? If you got the money for rent, for example, in February, you should have gotten another round again because people are able to get multiple rounds of rent. So there is no reason to be looking to forced stimulus for rent, which it is in there, when it's available under third stimulus. There is no reason to be looking to forced stimulus to pay your water or gas or heating oil bill when there's money under third stimulus to pay for it. And there's no reason to be looking forward full future to forced stimulus for mortgage assistance when there's money available for it right now and also for SNAP. So that's where I want to refocus you on, and that's a little bit of a tough love moment right there. Which brings us to the next question, which is the inflation. This week, we learned about inflation. I've been featuring inflation on this channel since July. Remember what I initially said? I said by the end of this year, inflation may be about 8-9%. And I felt uncomfortable with that number because the Federal Reserve was saying 2% at the moment. And then Janet Yellen was saying 2%. Here's this kid on YouTube saying 8%. And people are like, 8%? So I brought my number down to 5%. Well, the number came out yesterday. And guess what? It was close to 8%. It was 6.2%. And it's not temporary. And I said, I don't think it's going to be temporary. It's not temporary. This is 6.2% based upon the numbers last year. It's Consumer Price Index. But you don't see the pervasiveness of this until you go into the subcategories. Heating, fuel oil, which is heating oil, has gone up 59% since last year. Energy has gone up 30%. Used cars, 26%. New cars, only about 10%. Food, 5.3%, but that's a catchy number because watch the next number. Meat, poultry, fish, and eggs, 12% in 1 year. Additionally, we now know that the price of goods has gone up more than the salary increases at the same time. This is why Lalate and Lisa Bronowitz on Bloomberg are going to be two people that are going to say to you, stagflation, to your blue in the face. Stagflation is a concern when things cost more, but you're not being paid more to go to work. And that can cause big growth problems. How does this apply in the context of fourth stimulus and fifth stimulus? Here's where you need to be prepared for the ambush of misinformation from both Democrats and also Republicans. As we look at fifth stimulus, it's 100% on point with inflation. Why? People who are seniors and people on SSI and SSDI, you were tied to a very bad benchmark for decades called COLA. It would not go up. So in 2019, standard of living went up and your benefits didn't go up much. Then the pandemic hit. You were behind. Now inflation's kicking. And you're getting a 5.9% increase, but it's not enough. That is what fifth stimulus looks to solve, that you are not being paid anything consistent with what this economy costs to live in. That is apples with apples. Let's go to fourth stimulus. Is fourth stimulus impacted by inflation? Does forced stimulus hurt inflation? Does forced stimulus help inflation? When you look at the landscape of forced stimulus, there is one program that is 100% on point, and it's rent. Why? Because one of the big types of inflation right now is rent inflation. In 1 year, rent has gone through the roof, and next year it's expected to go higher. Not so much housing prices, but rent. And that is why it's going to cost more to rent, and you may not have more to pay for the rent. That's why they need rent aid under this forced stimulus recon. But as to the other provisions of the recon, no. You're not going to see this recon really help or hurt inflation. But I certainly believe that you're going to see Democrats say it helps and Republicans say it hurts when that's really not on point. These provisions are really not inflationary provisions. Why do we have inflation, and can it get solved quicker? The reason we have inflation is because goods were not produced during the pandemic. During the pandemic, manufacturing shut down, plants shut down, transportation shut down. And so they were not shipping products. We came out of lockdown, and then suddenly people wanted products, but there was nothing being made. So that became a backlog, and what's called supply chain backlog. And now they are at 300% capacity in some manufacturing, so you're going to see a lot of products by February and March next year. It'll balance out that issue. But there's other problems that are causing inflation than just supply chain. Oil and gas. The president's going to be under pressure in the next 7 days, and potentially we'll speak about this next week, of why he has not released some of the oil reserves the country owns to bring down the price of gasoline. Gasoline has gone up astronomically in just 30 days. It's $5 to $6 a gallon here in Los Angeles. It's gone up a lot. And that is a solution he can do instantly that'll impact you as well. We don't use heating oil here in Southern California, but in other parts of the country you do. And those prices are going to be astronomical in a few weeks. This is something the president can do by executive order to fix the situation. He's going to have to do it quickly, not late. Then supply chain. Ports and trucks and transportation, he has a little bit of leeway to do with something like that, but he needs to get it going right away. Finally, the labor. There's a new report out just about an hour ago that said 4 million people quit their job in September. It was one of the biggest quitting numbers they ever had. Why are people quitting their job? They're quitting their job because they want to go to the higher paying job they see down the street. So they're quitting this job to go to that next job. President's going to have to figure out some type of policy to solve this problem of people not wanting to stay at the job. For example, if you owned a bakery and you woke up this morning, went to the bakery, the baker may not have shown up and said, I quit because I want to go work at the copy store down the street that pays me $2 more per hour. It's a pervasive problem, and that causes labor shortage. All these problems will continue to be pervasive until the president addresses them. With the current inflation number now at 6.2% as of last month, expect the number to continue to grow. And as it continues to grow, I'm going to be tracking it in the context of forced stimulus, in the context of fifth stimulus, and the context also of your wallet. Coming up next is Mornings Crypto live on air at 10 a.m. I'm excited for you to join me. It's coming up in just a few minutes. And then I'm back with you at 11 a.m. with Noontime live and direct from Santa Monica, California. And with that, subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video, 3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member to get that newsletter that comes out tonight at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Stay informed, stay focused, have a beautiful day, and stay with Lalate for more.